This really is an escalation of the Trump administration's efforts to build up the U.S. military presence in this region as it ramps up that war on drug trafficking. And it comes as it continues those controversial strikes you mentioned on the alleged drug boats. The USS Gerald R. Ford is the Pentagon's largest aircraft carrier. As you said, it has more than 4,000 sailors and dozens of tactical aircraft aboard, so a lot of firepower on that carrier. And it was in late October that we heard Secretary Pete Hegseth direct it to leave from its position in the Mediterranean. And it was today that it arrived in Latin America, where the Pentagon says it's going to be part of countering narco-terrorism efforts. In a statement,
So the U.S. largest aircraft carrier, the USS Gerald R. Ford, and its strike group have arrived in Caribbean waters. That's according to the U.S. Navy. And all of this as the Trump administration beefs up its military presence in our peaceful Caribbean on these alleged drug boats, which we know is nonsense. I've been telling you for some time to prepare yourself for war. Make all the preparations you can in terms of foodstuff, in terms of communication. I've been advocating this for a very, very long time. A lot of people took it for a joke. A lot of people said that I was overplaying my hand. Well, here we are today. What this means for us is that things can go downhill very quickly. We also heard today that Venezuela is preparing for guerrilla war. They are preparing, of course, an insurrectionary strike as well, and I'll detail that in another video. But the USS Gerald R. Ford is carrying more than 4,000 sailors. They have dozens of tactical aircraft. They've entered the Southern area responsibility after being directed by the Defense Department or Department of War to take itself from the Mediterranean in October and be placed in this side of the hemisphere. Caribbean people, prepare yourself for war. Of course, the enhanced U.S. force presence in the Southcom area or in our Caribbean, they're saying it is going to bluster the capacity to detect and to monitor and to disrupt illicit actors and activities that compromise the safety and the prosperity of the United States, of course, in the Western Hemisphere. Of course, we know all this is nonsense. You don't bring a ship worth billions of dollars to go after four guys in a drug boat while people in the United States can't get food to eat. It's really despicable what is happening in our world, but all these things were prophesied as the scrolls would have told us. Of course, these forces, they say, will enhance and augment the existing capabilities. That's what they're saying, to disrupt narco trafficking, foolishness, degrade and dismantle transnational crime organization, rubbish. They're here and here for one thing only: to invade Venezuela, take the oil, and of course set up a puppet government so that they can continue to reap all the benefits out of Venezuela without the Venezuelan people benefiting. That is their MO. That is what they have been doing all across the world for a very long time. Of course, the boat is being escorted in the area by the USS Bainbridge, there's the USS Mahan and the USS Winston Churchill. That, of course, will bluster the firepower in the vicinity of Venezuela. You hear what they said? They said that it will bluster the firepower in the vicinity of Venezuela. So they've given away and told us what they intend to do. And of course, this is as the Department of Defense or Department of War has already deployed about 8 warships. They have F-fighter jets, Caribbean, and at least 1 nuclear-powered submarine in our waters. Of course, the tensions between Washington and Venezuela have ramped up. This is because the Trump administration, their officials, have called President Nicolas Maduro an illegitimate leader, and they have associated him with drug trafficking operations in the region. Of course, I would have brought information to you showing you. And even in the State Department report for this year, in the UNODC report, in the DEA report for 2025, there's no mention of Maduro. There's no mention of any cartel that he's heading. Again, another spanner in the works to help us, to fool us, to help us to get us on their side. Of course, you remember in a recent interview on 60 Minutes, President Trump indicated that Maduro's days were numbered. And Maduro has argued that the U.S. military buildup in the region is meant to force him out of office. Once again, I'm urging persons in the Caribbean to get your necessary supplies, whether it be food, communication equipment, medicines, put them aside. A lot of things will go scarce in this region when all hell break loose. And of course, our closest neighbor, Trinidad and Tobago, will be in for a lot of pain, whether people like it or not. A couple of weeks ago, you saw people buying food. It's not panic buying. They know exactly what they're doing, and they have a right to do it. When your leaders fool you, you have to depend on yourself for your very own existence. Take it easy and take care.